Mark's sister hit me. Those words, whispered by my daughter, Emily, over the phone, felt like a blade slicing through my chest. I was at my office in a high-rise in downtown Dallas, reviewing complex quarter-end reports, when I saw her name flash on the screen. It was 11:30 a.m. Emily never called me at work. My baby? What happened? Silence, then her voice, thin and shattered. Mum, Sharon, Mark's sister, just shoved me and dumped a whole bowl of hot soup on me right in front of everyone. She said my cooking was unfit for a dog. And Mark, my husband, he just sat there. He saw everything and didn't say a single word. His mother, Deborah, even snickered. My blood turned to ice. Where are you? In the guest bedroom, Mum. I locked the door. I'm scared. I hung up the phone. My hands were shaking so hard I could barely stand. My name is Sarah Jenkins. I am 55 years old. I have spent my whole life as a chief accountant for a major textile firm here in Dallas. I raised Emily alone after her father and I separated when she was 12. Frank, her father, was a good man, a detective with the DPD, but life pulled us in separate directions. Emily was always gentle, bright, and loving. When she met Mark Stevens 3 years ago, I wanted to believe she had found a good man. He came from a very traditional family in Houston. His father was Commander Rex Stevens, a retired military man, tough, rigid, one of those men who never smiles. But Mark seemed different. I was wrong. 20 minutes after that call, I was in my black SUV, driving like a madwoman toward their house in the suburbs. But I wasn't going alone. I called Frank, Emily's father. I told him everything in less than 30 seconds. Say no more, Sarah. I'm on my way. We met up 2 blocks from the house. Frank was wearing a tailored suit, but I knew he still carried his service weapon. I was carrying something else. As we stood in front of the front door, my heart was pounding so hard I thought it would shatter my ribs. I rang the doorbell. Heavy footsteps. The door swung open. It was Sharon, Mark's older sister. A tall, well-dressed woman, but her eyes held a cold, contemptuous look that pierced right through me. "What do you want?" she drawled, her voice dripping with disdain, a perfect copy of her father's arrogance. I didn't speak. I simply raised the object in my hand. And when she saw what it was, her face went blank. Everything changed. Before I tell you what happened that day in front of that door, you need to understand how we got there. Because Emily was not always that frightened woman, locked in a room, terrified of her own sister-in-law. There was a time when my daughter was free. I remember when Emily was 23. She had just earned her degree in early childhood education. Every Sunday, she came to my place for dinner. I'd cook slow-cooked pot roast, mashed potatoes, and corn pudding. She would arrive with her arms full of drawings her students had made for her. "Look, Mum, this little boy drew me with wings. He says I'm an angel." She laughed. It was a clean, genuine laugh. She'd sit at the kitchen island, drinking hot herbal tea and telling me her dreams. She wanted to open her own private preschool someday. She wanted to travel. She wanted to be happy. I would watch her there, with the afternoon sun streaming through the window, illuminating her face. And I'd think, I did it. I raised her right. I succeeded. Emily was never trouble. She never stayed out late. She never lied to me. She was a good daughter, perhaps too good. When her father and I split, she was 12. It was hard. Frank was working long hours. I felt lonely. He felt misunderstood. There were no shouting matches, no hitting. There was no other woman or other man. There was just silence. One day he moved out, but Frank never stopped being her father. He picked her up every Saturday, took her to the park, to the movies, and for tacos at their favorite spot. Emily adored him, and he, her. Over the years, Frank and I learned to be friends. We were no longer partners, but we were parents, and that bond is unbreakable. Emily grew up seeing a divorce handled with dignity, without hatred, without vengeance. Maybe that's why, when she met Mark, she believed all men were like her father, good at heart, capable of change. She was wrong. Mark came into her life 3 years ago. Emily was working at a private kindergarten in North Dallas. He was an accountant at a construction firm. They met at a mutual friend's birthday party. The first time Emily told me about him, I noticed something in her voice. Something different. "Mum, I met someone." "Oh, really? What's he like?" "He's serious, hard-working. He says he wants to start a family." I liked that. These days, finding a man who talks about family is rare. When I met him, Mark seemed polite. He came to my house with a bouquet, shook my hand, and called me Ms. Sarah respectfully. He was tall, thin, with a light tan, brown eyes, and a shy smile. We talked for hours. He told me he was from Houston, that his family was traditional, that his dad, Commander Rex Stevens, had been military and now owned an auto parts business. He said he admired working women like me, that raising a daughter alone was something he deeply respected. I wanted to believe him, but there was something that bothered me that day, something small, almost invisible. When Emily went to the kitchen to get more tea, Mark looked at me and said, "Ms. Sarah, I come from a family where the man is the provider and the woman is the keeper of the home, but I understand Emily works. That's fine. For now." For now. Those 2 words stuck with me. But Emily was in love, and I wanted to see her happy. They got married a year later. It was a simple ceremony in a garden south of the city. Emily wore a simple, beautiful, white lace dress. Frank walked her down the aisle. I cried. Mark promised to love her, care for her, and respect her. I believed him. The first few months were good. Emily came over often. She told me Mark was attentive, that they cooked together, that they went for walks on Sundays. She seemed happy, but little by little, the visits became less frequent. "Mum, Mark wants us to spend more time with his family." "Oh, of course, honey, that's fine." Then she stopped coming on Sundays. "Mum, his sister, Sharon, invites us for a big family brunch every Sunday. She says it's a family tradition." "I understand, honey, but you miss me, right?" She laughed, but it wasn't the same laugh. And then one day, I noticed something on her face. A shadow. A weariness that wasn't from work. "Emily, are you okay?" "Yes, Mum. Just tired." But her eyes said otherwise. I wanted to ask more. I wanted to push. But I didn't. And that was my first mistake. Because when a mother feels that something is wrong with her child, she must act. She must ask. She must break the silence. I didn't. And that omission, that silence of mine, almost cost Emily everything. Standing there now, in front of that door, with Frank beside me and that object in my hand, I understood something. Sometimes a mother's love is not enough just to be there. You have to be present. You have to act. And that day, I was going to act. The first sign that something was wrong was 6 months after the wedding. I didn't see it then. Nobody did. But now, looking back, I understand that it all started there. It was a Saturday afternoon. Emily showed up at my house without warning. That was already odd. Since she got married, she always called first. "Mark wants to know where I am," she would say. I used to think it was affection, attention, It wasn't affection. That Saturday, Emily knocked on the door with trembling hands. Her eyes were red, as if she had been crying. But when I asked if she was okay, she smiled. "Yes, Mum. Just came to see you." I hugged her. She smelled like lavender soap, clean house, that mix of bleach and fabric softener she always used. But she also smelled like fear. I don't know how to explain it. Mothers smell fear in their children. We sat in the living room. I served her iced tea. She held the glass with both hands, as if she needed to cling to something. "How's Mark?" I asked. "Fine. Working hard. And his sister Sharon?" She fell silent. Just for a second, but that second was enough. "She's fine too. She's demanding. But that's just her. Demanding." That word should have alerted me, but I didn't want to see it. Emily stayed all afternoon with me. We watched an old movie, one we used to watch together when she was a little girl. We ate popcorn with hot sauce. We laughed. For a moment, I felt like everything was okay. But when she was leaving, before getting into her car, she turned back and said, "Mum, if I ever need to stay with you for a few days, can I?" My heart stopped. "Of course, honey. This is always your home. Why do you ask?" "No reason. I just wanted to know." She left. I stood by the door, watching her drive away, with a knot in my stomach that wouldn't go away all night. I should have called Frank. I should have gone to her house the next day. I should have asked her what was going on. I didn't, because Emily had told me everything was fine, and I wanted to believe her. Weeks went by. Emily stopped coming. She didn't even call me on Sundays anymore. I reached out, but she always had an excuse. "Mum, sorry. Sharon invited us for brunch." "Mum, I can't. I have to clean the whole house." "Mum, Mark wants us to visit his uncle. Always someone else. Always another priority." And I foolishly thought, well, it's normal. She's newly married. She's building her life. But one afternoon, while I was at the Kroger, I saw Emily. She was in the produce aisle, picking out tomatoes. She was wearing a long-sleeved sweater, even though it was warm out. Her hair was tied back in a low ponytail. She looked thinner. "Emily!" I cried, excited. She turned around. Her face lit up for a second. But then I saw something in her eyes. Something like panic. "Mum! What a surprise!" I walked over and hugged her. She stiffened. "How are you, honey? I haven't heard from you in weeks." "Sorry, Mum. I've been busy." "Busy with what? You don't even call." "Well, you know, the house, work, Mark." I looked at her closely, deep circles under her eyes. Her skin was pale, and as she moved to grab some onions, her sweater sleeve rode up slightly. I saw a bruise on her wrist. "Emily, what is that?" She quickly pulled the sleeve down. "Nothing, Mum. I hit myself on the car door." "On the car door?" "Yes, you know how clumsy I am." She smiled, but that smile didn't reach her eyes. I wanted to press her. I wanted to grab her arm, take her to my house, sit her at the kitchen table and tell her, "Tell me the truth. What is happening to you?" But at that moment, her phone rang. She pulled it out of her pocket. I saw the name on the screen. "Mark." Her face changed. Suddenly all the light went out. "Sorry, Mum. I have to take this." She walked a few steps away. I stayed there, pretending to examine the avocados, but listening. "Yes, I'm coming now." "No, I wasn't long. I'm just buying what you asked for." "Yes, Sharon is there, I know." "I'm coming, Mark, I'm coming." She hung up. She returned to where I was. She wasn't smiling anymore. Mum, I have to go. Mark is waiting for me. So fast. We haven't even talked. I know, sorry. Sharon arrived early and I have to make dinner. Does Sharon live with you? No, Mum, but she eats with us almost every day. You know, Mark is her only brother. And since their mother, Deborah, is always so quiet, Sharon takes charge. It's a family thing. A tightness gripped my chest. And are you okay with that? Of course, Mum. It's normal. She's his sister. It was not normal, but I didn't say anything. Emily gave me a quick kiss on the cheek, grabbed her cart, and practically ran away. I stood there, in the middle of the supermarket, with empty hands and a sinking heart. I couldn't sleep that night. I called Frank. Frank, I need to talk about Emily. What happened? I don't know, but something is wrong. She didn't say anything, but I saw her today. She has a bruise on her wrist, and she's very thin and nervous. Do you think Mark is hitting her? I don't know. She says no. But, Sarah, if you suspect something, we have to do something. I know, but I can't accuse him without proof. What if I'm wrong? What if Emily gets angry at me? Frank sighed. All right, but I'm going to talk to her. Alone. Thank you, Frank. I hung up, but Frank couldn't talk to her. Because every time he tried to see her, Emily had an excuse. She was busy. She was tired. Mark couldn't make it that day. Sharon needed something. Always something. And I, from afar, watched my daughter slowly fade. Like a candle, someone is gently, constantly blowing out until there is no light left. 3 more months passed. Emily turned 26. I hosted a dinner at my house. I invited Frank. I invited her friends. I invited Mark. Mark arrived late. He was serious. He sat at the table without smiling, without talking to anyone. Emily was beside him, quiet, tense, as if waiting for an explosion. I tried to make the evening pleasant. I cooked her favorite meal. Chicken enchiladas with white rice and refried beans. I put on music. I brought out the cake. But the tension was so thick you could cut it with a knife. When we sang Happy Birthday, Emily tried to smile, but her eyes were full of tears. After dinner, Mark stood up. We're leaving now. Sharon is waiting for us. Sharon? I asked. But it's Emily's birthday. I know, but she wants to see her too. She's my sister. Emily stood up without saying anything. She gave me a quick hug. Thanks, Mum. It was beautiful. Honey, why don't you stay a little longer? Your friends just arrived. I can't, Mum. Mark is right. Sharon is waiting. They left. I stood there, watching the door close, with the half-eaten cake and the candles still burning. Frank walked up to me. Sarah, that man is not right. I know. And neither is Emily. I know. We have to do something. But what, Frank? What do we do if she won't let us help her? He had no answer. Nobody did. And meanwhile, my daughter was getting lost. And I, her mother, didn't know how to save her. Until that day when she called me with a broken voice telling me, Mum, his sister hit me. And I knew there was no more time for doubt. The time to act had come. After that birthday, something shifted in me. I could no longer pretend everything was fine. I could no longer wait for Emily to tell me the truth, because the words of a suffering daughter don't always come. Sometimes, silence screams louder. I decided to visit her without warning. It was a Tuesday afternoon. I left work early, made an excuse to my boss, and drove to the house where Emily lived with Mark. It was a small, nice house in a quiet neighborhood north of Dallas. It had a small front yard with purple bougainvillea. When I arrived, Mark's car wasn't there. That gave me courage. I knocked on the door. I waited. No one answered. I knocked again. Emily, it's me, Mum. I heard slow footsteps, as if someone was hesitating whether to open or not. The door opened just a crack. Emily peeked out. Her hair was loose, messy. She was wearing an old t-shirt and sweats. She looked tired, very tired. Mum, what are you doing here? I came to see you. Can I come in? She looked back into the house, as if searching for something. Or someone. Mark isn't here, I said. I saw his car wasn't here. She took a deep breath. She opened the door a little wider. Come in. I walked in. The house smelled of bleach, clean, too clean, as if someone had been scrubbing for hours. The living room was spotless, the couch cushions perfectly arranged, the coffee table without a speck of dust. Everything in its place, everything perfect, too perfect. Do you want some coffee? Emily asked. Yes, honey, thank you. We went to the kitchen, and there I saw something that broke my heart. On the wall, next to the stove, was a list, handwritten in a man's script. It read, House rules. Dinner must be ready at 7 o'clock sharp. The house must be spotless before I return. No visitors without prior notice. No going out without permission. Respect my sister and father as if they were your own. I froze. Emily, what is this? She continued making the coffee without looking at me. They're Mark's rules. Mark's rules? Yes, he says a house runs better when there is order. And you agree with this? She fell silent. She poured the coffee into 2 mugs. She handed me one. She sat across from me at the kitchen table. Mum, I know you don't understand, but this is how his family operates. His father raised Mark like this, and Mark wants our home to be the same. And what do you want? She looked down. I want my marriage to work. But is this a marriage, Emily, or a prison? She looked up. Her eyes were full of tears. Don't say that, Mum. Honey, those rules, that's not normal. That's not love. That's control. It's not control, it's discipline. Mark says women nowadays don't know how to be wives anymore, that they don't know how to take care of a home, that his mother was different, that she knew her place. Her place? Emily, listen to yourself. When did you start talking like this? Since I understood that if I want this to work, I have to adapt. Adapt? Or erase yourself? She stood up. She was trembling. Mum, I appreciate you coming, but I don't need you to tell me how to live my life. I chose to marry Mark. I chose this. Did you choose this? Or were you convinced that this is the right thing? Stop it, Mum. Her scream took my breath away. Emily had never yelled at me. Never. She covered her mouth with her hands, as if she couldn't believe what she had just done. Tears started to fall. I'm sorry, Mum. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. I stood up. I hugged her. She crumbled in my arms. She cried like I hadn't seen her cry since she was a little girl. I'm so tired, Mum. So tired. Mark wasn't like this before, I swear. When we met, he was different. He was sweet. He was attentive. But after we got married, he changed. Or maybe I never really knew him. Has he hit you? She pulled away from me, wiped her tears. No, not him. He's never laid a hand on me. Then who? Silence. Emily, who? She closed her eyes. His sister, Sharon. The world stopped. What? His sister. She yells at me. She calls me useless. She says I don't know how to cook a decent meal, that I'm not fit to be her brother's wife. And sometimes she shoves me, or grabs my arm, or throws things. And Mark does nothing. He says Sharon is right, that I need to learn, that his mother used to take much more. I struggled to breathe. Emily, that is violence. No, Mum, it's not violence. She's just demanding. You know how she is. She's like her father. No, honey, that's not being demanding. That's being abusive. And your husband is an accomplice. Don't say that. Why are you defending him? Because he's my husband. And so what? Does that give him the right to let you suffer? She fell silent. She looked at the floor. Her hands were trembling. I knelt in front of her. I took her hands in mine. Emily, listen to me carefully. You don't deserve this. You deserve a man who defends you, who protects you, who loves you truly. And if Mark can't do that, then he's not the man for you. But Mum, I love him. I know, honey, but love is not enough. Love without respect is not love. It's dependency, and dependency kills. She looked at me with those eyes full of pain, and for a moment, I thought she was going to react. I thought she was going to say, "You're right, Mum. Get me out of here." But she didn't. Instead, she wiped her tears, stood up, and said, "Mum, I appreciate your concern, but I'm fine. Really, I'm just going through a tough patch. All marriages go through this." No, Emily, not all. Yes, Mum, you and Dad had problems too. But your dad never let anyone disrespect me, and I never let him control me. Well, maybe that's why you separated. Those words hurt me more than I expected. Emily noticed. Her face changed. I'm sorry, Mum. I didn't mean that. I'm confused. I'm tired. But I promise you, I'm okay. I do. I didn't believe her. But I couldn't force her to leave. I couldn't drag her out of that house. Because Emily was no longer a child. She was an adult woman. And the decisions were hers, even if those decisions were slowly killing her inside. I said goodbye. I hugged her tight. I told her that if she ever needed help, she just had to call me. Anytime. Day or night. She nodded. She said she would. But I knew she wouldn't. Because Emily was already trapped. And the worst part was that she didn't see it. Or maybe she did. But she had decided to remain silent. To submit. To endure. Like so many women. Like her grandmother. Like generations of women who learned that silent suffering was a virtue. But I was not going to let my daughter follow that path. I left that house with a broken heart, but also with something else. A certainty. If Emily couldn't save herself, then I would do it for her. I called Frank that same night. I need you to be ready. If Emily calls me, if she says something happened, I need you ready to act. What do you think is going to happen? I don't know. But something will happen. And I'm going for her. And I'm going to get her out of there. And Mark. And Mark. If he resists, then we'll deal with Mark. And his sister Sharon. There was a silence. If his sister gets involved, Frank, you'll have to do your job. Understood. I hung up. And I waited. I waited for weeks. For months. With my stomach in knots. With fear gnawing at me inside. Wondering if I was exaggerating. If I was being an overprotective mother. If Emily was really in danger. Or if I was just imagining things. Until one day, while I was at work, my phone rang, and I heard my daughter's voice, broken, terrified, telling me, "Mum, His sister hit me, and everything exploded. The months that followed that visit were the hardest of my life. I kept working, keeping my routine, but a part of me was always alert, always waiting, like an animal sensing a storm before the first drop falls. Emily called me from time to time, always short conversations, always with that controlled, measured voice, as if someone was listening on the other end. "Hello, Mum. How are you?" "Fine, my daughter. And you?" "I'm fine too. Just calling to say hi. Are you sure? Is everything okay?" "Yes, Mum. Everything's fine. I have to go. Love you." And she hung up. I was left holding the phone, feeling that something was wrong, but unable to do anything. Frank told me to be patient, that Emily had to realize it herself, that if we pressured her, she would pull away more. Maybe he was right, but patience hurts. It hurts like a slow knife slicing through your chest every day. One afternoon, while I was at a farmer's market buying vegetables for the week, I saw a familiar face. It was Lucy, a neighbor from Emily's community. I knew her because once, when I went to visit my daughter, she was watering her garden and we said hello. "Ms. Sarah, right?" she said to me. "Yes, Lucy?" "Yes, good to see you. How is Emily?" The question caught me off guard. "Fine. Why?" Lucy lowered her voice, looking around, as if she didn't want anyone else to hear. "Well, I don't want to get involved where I don't belong, but I've noticed things." My heart started beating faster. What kind of things? "Well, sometimes I hear screaming. From Emily's house. A woman screaming. Very loud. And once I saw Mark's sister, Sharon, storm out of the house, slamming the door. She looked furious. And then I saw Emily in the window. She was crying." I closed my eyes, took a deep breath. When was that? "About a month ago. I wanted to go knock on the door, but my husband told me not to get involved, that it was family business." "And have you seen Emily lately?" "Yes, but she hardly ever goes out anymore. Before, I'd see her going for walks or leaving for work. Now I hardly ever see her. And when I do, she's always rushing, as if she doesn't want anyone to talk to her." "And Mark?" "He leaves early and comes back late. But his sister, Sharon, she goes there almost every day, sometimes staying until evening. Emily is alone with her until Mark gets home." My hands were shaking. "Lucy, if you hear screaming again, can you call me?" I gave her my phone number. "Please, she is my daughter." She nodded. "Of course, Miss Sarah. I have a daughter too. I understand." We said goodbye. I left the market without buying anything. I got into my car and cried. I cried with rage, with helplessness, with fear. Because now it wasn't just suspicion anymore. Now there were witnesses, there was screaming, there were tears, and I, her mother, felt I had to do more than wait. I called Frank. "I need you to investigate Mark's sister and father. I want to know who they are, what they've done, if they have a record." "You think they have a record?" "I don't know. But a woman who treats another woman like that, who yells at her, who shoves her, and a father who condones it. They didn't learn that out of nowhere. Someone taught them. Or they've always been like this." "All right. Let me see what I can find. What are their names?" "Commander Rex Stevens, the father. Retired military. He owns an auto parts business in Houston. And Sharon Stevens, the sister." "Perfect. I'll call you in a few days." Frank was a retired detective. He had contacts. He knew how to find information. 3 days later, he called me. "Sarah, I found something." "What?" "Commander Rex Stevens has a history. 15 years ago, his wife, Deborah, Mark, and Sharon's mother, filed a complaint for domestic violence. My blood ran cold. What? Yes, but she withdrew it a few days later. According to the report, she said it was a misunderstanding, that they were having marital problems, that everything was resolved. And after that? Nothing after that. There were no more complaints. But according to some neighbours from that time, the screaming was heard often, and she, the wife, stopped leaving the house. She became very quiet, very submissive. And how did she die? Officially cancer, 8 years ago. But some say cancer wasn't the only thing that killed her, that she was very thin, very weak, as if she had stopped fighting, as if she had just given up. I felt short of breath. Frank, that man killed his wife, not with a single blow, but he killed her. He slowly extinguished her light. I know. And now his daughter, Sharon, is doing the same to Emily, with his silent blessing. And Mark? Mark grew up watching that, watching his father yell, watching his mother submit. He learned that this is how a marriage works, that the man is in charge and the woman obeys. And now he's repeating the pattern. He's letting his sister do the dirty work, keeping the traditional order his father established. I have to get Emily out of there. But she doesn't want to leave. Then I'm going to make her want to. How? I don't know. But I'm going to do something. I hung up. I couldn't sleep that night. I stayed awake staring at the ceiling, thinking about Emily, thinking about that house, thinking about Sharon, going there every day, yelling, pushing, slowly destroying my daughter's soul. And thinking about Mark, the man I thought was good, the man who promised to love Emily, and who now, a coward, let his sister treat her like dirt. I decided to do something risky. The next day, I left work early. I drove to Emily's house. I knew Mark wouldn't be there. I knew only Emily and possibly Sharon would be there, and that was exactly what I wanted. I arrived at 3 p.m. I rang the doorbell. No one answered. I rang again. I waited. Finally, the door opened. It was Sharon. Tall, broad-shouldered, hard face, cold stare. "What do you want?" she said, with that tone people use when they think women don't deserve respect. "I came to see my daughter." "She's not here." "Yes, she is. Her car is there." I pointed to Emily's car, parked in front of the house. Sharon clenched her jaw. "I said she's not here. And I say I want to see her." We stared at each other. It was a silent duel, a duel of wills. I was not going to back down. After a few seconds, she stepped aside. "Come in, but don't take long. I have things to do." I walked in. The house was dimly lit. The blinds were closed. The air was heavy. "Emily?" I called out. No response. "Emily?" "She's in the kitchen," Sharon said, crossing her arms. I went to the kitchen, and there was my daughter, her back to me, standing in front of the stove, cooking. Emily. She turned around, and what I saw devastated me. Her face was puffy, her eyes were red, and on her left cheek, a red mark, recent. "Mom," she whispered. Sharon appeared behind me. "Your daughter is very clumsy. She hit herself on the cabinet." I looked at her with hatred. Did she hit herself on the cabinet, or did you hit her? Her face didn't change. She showed no surprise, no guilt, only contempt. "Madam, I recommend you leave. You have no business here." "I have every business here. She is my daughter, and she is Mark's wife. And as long as she lives in this house, I have the right to correct her when she is wrong." "Correct her? Is that what you call it? Is hitting a woman correcting her? If she doesn't know how to cook, she has to learn. My father taught my mother, and Emily will learn too. Emily started to cry. Miss Sharon, please, no more. Shut up! Sharon screamed at her. And I exploded. I stepped toward her, small, but furious. Don't you ever yell at her again. Don't you ever lay a hand on her again. Because if you do, I will make you regret it. She laughed, a cold, mocking laugh. You? What are you going to do? A single woman? A divorced woman? I am divorced. But I am not alone. And if you touch one hair on my daughter's head again, you are going to know what hell is. Are you threatening me? No, I'm warning you. We stared at each other. This time she was the first to look away. Get out, before I call the police. Call them. Emily's father is a retired detective. I'd be delighted to have him here. That threw her off, just for a second, but it was enough. Emily, let's go, I said. You can't take her, Sharon said. She is an adult. She can leave whenever she wants. Right, Emily? Emily looked at me. There was so much fear in her eyes, so much pain, so much confusion. Mum, I can't. Mark will be angry. Let him be angry. You can't stay here. But he's my husband, and you are my daughter, and I will not let anyone hurt you, not his sister, not him, not anyone. Emily cried harder. Mum, I don't know what to do. I do. Trust me. Sharon took a step toward us. If you take her, Mark will come for her. And it won't be pretty. Let him come. I'll be waiting for him. I took Emily's hand. She trembled, but she didn't let go. Let's go, honey. We walked out of that house. Sharon didn't stop us. But her look was pure hatred. I helped Emily into my car. She was crying non-stop. Mum, what am I going to do? Mark will kill me. No, Emily, no one is going to kill you, I promise. I drove back to my house. Emily didn't stop crying the whole way. When we arrived, I sat her down in the living room. I made her chamomile tea. I hugged her. Everything is going to be all right, honey, I promise. But deep down, I knew this was just the beginning. Because people like Sharon and her father don't let their victims go so easily. And men like Mark, raised in violence, don't either. That night I called Frank. I need you to come over. Emily is with me. And I think Mark is going to come. I'm on my way. And we waited. Emily spent the whole night at my house. She didn't talk much. She just cried. She held herself. She trembled every time she heard a noise outside. I sat next to her on the living room sofa and didn't move. I held her. I stroked her hair, like when she was a little girl having nightmares. It's over, honey. It's over. But it wasn't over. It was just beginning. Frank arrived at 9 p.m. He was still wearing his suit. When he saw Emily, his face changed, his eyes filled with tears. What did they do to you, my girl? Emily stood up and ran to hug him. She cried on his shoulder like I hadn't seen her cry in years. Dad, I'm sorry. Sorry I didn't tell you sooner. You don't have to apologize, Emily. None of this is your fault. Frank looked at me over Emily's head. His eyes said the same thing mine did. This couldn't continue. The three of us sat in the living room. I made coffee. Emily drank it slowly, her hands trembling. Emily, Frank said softly, I need you to tell me everything. From the beginning. Without fear. Without shame. Everything. Emily looked down. I don't know where to start. Start at the beginning. When did all this begin? She took a deep breath. I think I think it started even before we got married, but I didn't realize it. What do you mean? When Mark and I were dating, he was very attentive, but also very jealous. If I went out with my friends, he called me every half hour. If I didn't answer right away, he got angry. He said I didn't love him, that if I really loved him, I would always be available to him. Frank and I exchanged glances. I thought it was because he loved me so much, Emily continued. That jealousy was a sign of love, but now I understand it wasn't. It was a sign of control. And his sister? I asked. When did you meet Sharon? I met her a month after I started dating Mark. We went to Houston. Sharon, who was a few years older, received me at her family's house. But she wasn't kind. She looked me up and down, as if she was evaluating me. And then she told Mark, right in front of me, she's pretty, but I hope she knows how to run a household, because a woman who can't keep things in order is useless as a wife. And what did Mark say? He laughed. He said, "Don't worry, sis. If she doesn't know how, you'll teach her." Emily sighed. I felt uncomfortable, but I thought it was just her way, that she was from a traditional family, that with time she would accept me. And did she accept you? Frank asked. No, never. From the day of the wedding, she started criticizing everything. She said my dress was too simple, that the party food wasn't good, that I had invited too many people from my side and too few from theirs. Everything I did was wrong. And did Mark defend you? Emily shook her head. No, he just said, Sharon is right. You need to step up your game. I felt rage rising in my chest. After the wedding, Emily continued, Sharon started coming to our house every day. At first, she just came for dinner. Mark said his sister was just trying to help, that since she was so accomplished, she felt it was her duty to guide me. But nothing I did was ever enough. If I cooked chicken, she'd say she wanted steak. If I cooked steak, she'd say it was tough. If the house was clean, she'd find dust somewhere. If I smiled, she'd call me naive. If I was serious, she'd say I was a downer. Tears started to fall again. And Mark always agreed with her. Always. He said Sharon just wanted to help me, that if I listened to her advice, I would be a better wife. And when did the hitting start? Frank asked, his voice tight. Emily closed her eyes. 6 months ago, I was cooking. I made a simple soup. Sharon came in, tasted the soup, and said it was disgusting, that it tasted like dishwater. I told her I was sorry, that I would make something else. But she stood up, grabbed the bowl, and dumped the hot soup all over the stove and kitchen floor, then grabbed my arm and shoved me against the counter. My heart was pounding so hard it hurt. She said, "You are useless. My mother cooked 1,000 times better than you. I don't know what my brother saw in such a mediocre woman." I started crying, told her I was sorry, that I would do better, but she grabbed my arm so hard it left bruises, and then she shoved me. I fell, hitting my hip on the table. Frank stood up, furious. And where was Mark? In the living room, watching TV. And he didn't do anything? He came into the kitchen, saw his sister yelling at me, saw me on the floor and just said, "Emily, get up, clean up this mess, and next time cook something decent." The silence that followed was heavy, so heavy I could barely breathe. That was the first time, Emily said. But it wasn't the only one. From that day on, Sharon became more aggressive. She would shove me, pull my hair, pinch me. And always with Mark there, seeing everything and saying nothing. "Why didn't you call me sooner?" Frank asked, his voice cracking. Because I was ashamed, Dad. Because I thought it was my fault. That if I were a better wife, a better cook, a better woman, none of this would happen. Emily, listen to me closely, Frank said, kneeling in front of her. None of this is your fault. None. That woman is an abuser, and your husband is a coward, and they both deserve to be reported. But Dad, I love him. I love Mark. Loving someone who lets you suffer, that's not love, honey. That's fear. Emily covered her face with her hands. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to get out of this. I walked up to her, took her hands in mine. You already got out, Emily. You are here, with us. You are safe. But Mark will come. He'll force me to go back. Let him come, Frank said. I'll be here, and he's not taking you anywhere. And if he brings his sister, or his father, even better, because I'm going to have them arrested for assault. But Dad, I don't have proof. I didn't go to the doctor. I didn't take pictures of the bruises. The evidence is on your body, and your testimony is here. That's enough. Emily shook her head. It won't be enough. They have money, contacts, they can hire lawyers, they can say I'm lying, that I'm crazy. Then we're going to make sure they can't, I said. They both looked at me. How? Frank asked. Tomorrow, we're taking Emily to file a formal report with the police department's domestic violence unit. We are going to file against Sharon for assault and battery, against Mark for complicity. Mom, I can't. Yes, you can. And you will. Because if you don't do it now, this will continue. And one day that woman will go too far. And you will be destroyed. Emily fell silent. She knew I was right. All right, she finally said. I'll do it. Frank nodded. Good. I'll go with you. And I'll make sure this report is taken seriously. The three of us hugged. It was a long hug. A hug from a broken but united family. A family that fights, that resists. But that night, something else happened. At 11 p.m., the doorbell rang. The three of us froze. It's him, Emily whispered. Frank stood up. He walked toward the door. Who is it? He asked without opening it. It's Mark. I came for my wife. She's not here. I know she is. Her mother took her. I want to talk to her. There's nothing to talk about. Go away. I'm not leaving without Emily. Mark's voice sounded desperate, furious. Frank opened the door. Just a crack, enough for Mark to see his intimidating presence. I told you to leave. If you don't, I'm calling the police for disturbing the peace. Are you threatening me? No. I'm warning you. Emily is here by her own will, and she's not leaving with you. She's my wife. She has to come with me. She is a person. She is not your property. Mark tried to push the door. Frank held it. Take one more step and I'll have you arrested. Mark stopped. His breathing was ragged. His eyes were red, as if he had been crying, or drinking, or both. Emily, he yelled. Emily, come out, we need to talk. Emily got up from the sofa. I tried to stop her, but she signaled with her hand. She walked toward the door. Frank stepped aside. Mark, Emily said firmly, I'm not coming back. What? Why? What did your mother tell you? Is she putting ideas in your head? Nobody put anything in my head. I saw the truth. What truth? That your sister hit me, and that you allowed it. My sister was just teaching you. No, your sister is abusing me, and you are an accomplice. Mark fell silent. For the first time, he had no answer. I loved you, Mark. I truly loved you. but I can't keep living like this anymore. I can't keep pretending everything is okay when it's not. Emily, please, let's talk. Let's fix this. There's nothing to fix. Tomorrow I'm going to the police station. I'm going to report your sister. And if necessary, you too. Mark's face changed, from pleading to fury. You're going to report me? Me? After everything I did for you? What did you do for me, Mark? Let me suffer? Let your sister humiliate me? Is that what you did for me? I gave you a home. I gave you my name. I gave you... You gave me nothing. You only took from me. You took my dignity, my peace, my happiness. Mark took a step back, as if Emily's words were blows. You're going to regret this, he said in a cold voice. Frank stepped in front of him. Is that a threat? No, it's a promise, because my sister is not going to stay quiet, and neither am I. He turned and left. He got into his car and sped away. Frank closed the door. He looked at me. This is not over. I know. That man will come back, and he'll probably bring his sister and father. I know. And when they come back, it's going to be ugly. I know, Frank, but I don't care. Because this time, I won't let them hurt my daughter. Emily hugged us both. Thank you. Thank you for not leaving me alone. You will never be alone, honey, I said. Never. That night, the three of us slept in the living room, Frank on the couch, Emily and I on the pull-out sofa. I couldn't sleep. I stayed awake staring at the door, waiting for them to knock again, but no one knocked, and that scared me more, because people like Sharon and Mark don't give up easily, and when they come back with everything. The next day dawned grey, with dense clouds, as if even the weather knew what was coming. Emily woke up early, deep dark circles under her eyes. None of us had slept well. I made coffee. I made scrambled eggs with hash browns. I set the table. I tried to make everything seem normal, but nothing was normal. Frank arrived at 8 a.m. He wasn't wearing his suit anymore. He was wearing casual clothes, jeans, a white shirt, a dark jacket. Ready? He asked Emily. She nodded, but her hands were trembling. I'm going to be with you the whole time, I said, taking her hand. You are not alone. I know, Mum, but I'm scared. It's normal to be afraid, but fear can't stop you. You already took the hardest step. Now you just have to keep going. We left the house. We got into Frank's car. I sat in the back with Emily. She was clinging to my hand like a lifeline. During the drive, no one spoke much, just the sound of the engine, the noise of the city, the horns. Life continuing its course, oblivious to our pain. We arrived at the police station's domestic violence unit at 9:30. It was a grey, cold building, full of waiting people. People with tired faces. People who had seen too much. People like us. Frank knew some of the officers. He helped us skip part of the line. He took us to a small office where a woman in her 40s, wearing glasses and with her hair tied back, was waiting for us. Good morning. I'm Detective Mendez from the Domestic Violence Unit. I understand you are here to file a report for assault and emotional abuse. Emily nodded. Yes. Very well. I need you to tell me everything, in detail, and calmly. Agreed? Emily took a deep breath, and she started talking. She told her everything, from the beginning, from Mark's jealousy when they were dating, from Sharon's criticism, from the first shove, from the soup incident, from the bruises, from the constant fear. Detective Mendez took notes. Her face showed no emotion, but her eyes. Her eyes said she had heard this story 1,000 times, with 1,000 different faces, but always the same story. Do you have physical evidence? Photos of the bruises? Medical reports? Emily shook her head. No, I was afraid Mark would find out. Are there witnesses? A neighbor, Lucy. She heard screaming. Frank intervened. I can get her testimony. Perfect. That helps, the detective said. And the main aggressor is the sister-in-law? Sharon Stevens? Yes, and my husband, Mark Stevens. Has he also physically assaulted you? Emily hesitated. Not directly, but he allowed it. He saw his sister hit me and he didn't do anything. It's as if he was hitting me too. The detective nodded. That is called complicity, and it is also a crime. I am going to include both of them in the report. What happens now? I asked. We are going to issue a warrant for Sharon Stevens' arrest for assault and battery. She will have to come in to make a statement. If there is enough evidence, she will be detained. As for Mark, he will also have to give a statement. And depending on his testimony, he could face charges for failure to render aid and complicity. And Emily? Is she protected? We are going to issue a restraining order. Neither Sharon nor Mark can approach Emily. If they do, they will be arrested immediately. Emily started to cry. What if they don't respect the order? That's why your father is here, the detective said, looking at Frank. He can protect you, and so can we. But you have to be strong, Emily. This is just beginning. Emily signed the report. Her hands were shaking so much she could barely hold the pen. But she did it. She signed. We left the police station with a copy of the report, with the restraining order, with a piece of paper that said Emily was protected. But papers don't stop bullets. They don't stop blows. They don't stop men and women full of rage. And I knew it. We returned to my house. Emily stayed in her room, the old room where she grew up, where she was a child, where she was happy. I made lunch. I tried to keep myself busy, but my hands were shaking. My mind kept imagining what Sharon and Mark would do when they received the notification. At 3 p.m., my phone rang. It was an unknown number. I answered. Hello? Silence. Hello? I repeated. And then a voice that chilled my blood. Ms. Sarah, this is Sharon Stevens. I closed my eyes, took a deep breath. What do you want? I want you to send Emily back. Emily is not mine to send back. She decided to leave, and she decided to report you. That report won't go anywhere. I have lawyers. I have contacts. I can make it disappear. Do it. But Emily is not coming back to you, or to your brother. You don't understand, madam. You are destroying a family. You are putting ideas in Emily's head. You are making my brother suffer. Your brother suffers. And Emily, what about her? What about the suffering you caused her? I was just educating her, teaching her to be a good wife, like my mother was. Your mother died sad and alone. I don't want that for my daughter. There was a long, tense silence. You are going to regret this, she finally said. I've already been told that, but I don't care. I hung up. My hands were shaking. I called Frank. Sharon called me. She threatened me. What did she say? That I was going to regret it. That she has lawyers. That she can make the report disappear. She can't. It's already registered. It's in the system. She can hire anyone she wants. But this won't disappear. But Frank, that woman is dangerous. I know. That's why I'm going to stay there with you. I won't let anything happen to you both. Thank you. I hung up. Emily came down from her room. Her eyes were red. Who called? I didn't want to lie to her. Sharon. Her face went pale. What did she say? Nothing important, just empty threats. Mum, she doesn't make empty threats. If she said something, she'll follow through. That's why your dad is going to be here. And that's why we're not leaving the house until this is resolved. Emily nodded, but I knew she was scared. So scared. That night, Frank arrived with a suitcase. He stayed in the guest room. He placed his service weapon on the nightstand, just in case. We ate dinner in silence. Vegetable soup, bread, nothing elaborate. Just something to fill the stomach. At 10 p.m., Emily went to sleep. I stayed in the living room with Frank. Do you think Mark will come? I asked. I don't know. But if he comes, he won't be alone. You think he'll bring Sharon or his dad? It's possible. And what do? We call the police. He can have them arrested for violating the restraining order. And if they arrive before the police? Frank looked at me. Then I stop them. Frank, I don't want anything to happen to you. Nothing will happen to me. But I won't let anything happen to Emily either. Or to you. I stood up. I hugged him. Thank you. For everything. You don't have to thank me. She's my daughter. And I will always protect her. I went to bed. But I couldn't sleep. I lay down, staring at the ceiling, listening to every sound, every passing car, every barking dog. And then, at 2 a.m., I heard it. An engine. It stopped in front of my house. I got up. I went to the window. I peeked through the curtain. It was Mark's car, and he wasn't alone. Sharon and his father, Commander Rex Stevens, were with him. My heart started pounding so fast, I thought it would burst out of my chest. They got out of the car. Mark was holding something in his hand. I couldn't see what it was. Commander Stevens was walking with heavy, determined steps. I ran to Frank's room. Frank, they're here! He got up immediately, grabbed his gun, went to the window. Damn it, he whispered. What do? Stay with Emily, I'm going out. No, Frank, don't go out. Let's call the police. I already called them, but they'll take time, and I can't let them get close to the house. He left. I ran to Emily's room. She was awake, trembling. What's going on, Mum? They're here, Mark, Sharon, and the commander. No. She started crying. What do they want? I don't know, but your dad is outside. He won't let them in. We hugged. We heard voices outside, shouting. Emily, come out! We need to talk. It was Mark's voice. I'm not coming out, Emily yelled from the window. Go away! She's not coming out, Frank yelled. And if you don't leave, I'll have you arrested. You have no authority here, Commander Stevens yelled. This is a family matter. It stopped being a family matter when your daughter laid hands on her. There was a struggle, shouts, and then a sound. I will never forget. A gunshot. Emily screamed. I screamed. We ran to the window. Frank was on the ground, bleeding. Everything happened in slow motion. I saw Frank on the ground. I saw the blood. I saw Mark with a gun in his hand, trembling, his eyes wide, as if he couldn't believe what he had just done. I saw Commander Stevens, still, his face hard, showing nothing, as if this was what he expected, as if this was part of the plan. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. My body moved on its own. I ran out of the house. I ran to Frank. Emily screamed behind me, but I didn't stop. I knelt beside him. He was conscious, breathing heavily. Blood was coming from his left shoulder. Frank, look at me. I'm okay, he whispered. It's just the shoulder. I took off my robe. I pressed it against the wound. He winced in pain. Hold on. Hold on. The ambulance is coming. I looked up. Mark was still there, standing, the gun hanging from his hand, paralyzed, in shock. Commander Stevens took a step toward us. It was self-defense, he said in a cold voice. He threatened us. He pulled his weapon. My son only defended himself. Lie, I screamed. You came here. You violated the restraining order. You attacked him. There are no witnesses, Commander Stevens said. It's our word against yours. I am a witness, Emily screamed from the doorway. I saw everything. The commander looked at her with contempt. Nobody is going to believe a hysterical woman who reported her own family. They're going to think you're lying. I'm not lying, and I'm going to tell the truth, even if it costs me everything. Mark looked at her. For the first time since he got out of the car, he spoke. Emily, I didn't mean to. He was going to what, Mark? Emily said, her voice broken but firm. Protect me. Is that what he was going to do? Protect me from your sister. Protect me from you. Emily, please. Understand. I didn't know it was going to happen like this. You knew. You always knew. You knew when your sister first yelled at me. You knew when she shoved me. You knew when she hit me. And you did nothing. You never did anything. Mark dropped the gun to the ground. He covered his face with his hands. He started to sob. I just wanted you to be like my mum. She never complained. She always obeyed. Your mother died sad, Mark. She died alone. She died without love. Is that what you wanted for me? He didn't answer. He just cried. Commander Stevens looked at his son with disgust. You are a coward, he said to his son, just like your mother. And at that moment, something changed in Mark's face. Something broke. He looked up at his father, and for the first time in his life, he answered him. No, you are the coward. You who beat my mother for years. You who made her feel worthless. You who slowly killed her, and I let you do the same to Emily. Because I learned from you. Because I thought that's how you treated a wife. Commander Stevens slapped him. Shut up. Mark didn't move. He just looked at him, with tears in his eyes. No, I won't shut up anymore. I won't obey you anymore. I won't be like you. Sirens started to wail in the distance. Commander Stevens looked toward the street. His face changed. For the first time, I saw fear in his eyes. We're leaving, he told Mark. No, Mark said. I'm staying. What? I'm staying. I'm going to face what I did. I'm going to tell the truth. If you tell the truth, you'll go to jail. I know. And I deserve it. Commander Stevens grabbed his arm. Don't be stupid. We can still fix this. Mark shook him off. There's nothing to fix. Not anymore. The police cruisers arrived. 3 cars. 6 officers. They got out with their weapons drawn. Get down. Everyone on the ground. Commander Stevens raised his hands. Mark knelt down. The officers handcuffed them. The ambulance arrived 2 minutes later. The paramedics checked Frank. They said the bullet had gone through the shoulder. He had lost blood, but would be fine. They loaded him into the ambulance. I wanted to go with him, but Emily grabbed my hand. Mum, please stay with me. I stayed. The police took our statements, mine, Emily's, the neighbours who had come out after hearing the shot. Commander Stevens said nothing. He just stared at the ground, his jaw clenched. Mark, on the other hand, spoke. He told them everything. that his sister had abused Emily, that he had allowed it, that they had come that night to take her back by force, that Frank had tried to stop them, that his father had given him the gun, that he, in a moment of fear and rage, had fired. "I didn't want to kill him," he said, crying. "I just wanted him to leave us alone. But my father said that if I didn't shoot, he would." He couldn't finish. He broke down. The police took Commander Stevens and Mark away. 2 different cars, 2 different fates. Commander Stevens would be charged with aggravated assault, violation of the restraining order, and complicity in the shooting. Mark would be charged with attempted murder, complicity, and violation of the restraining order. Both would face years in prison. Emily and I were left alone on the street. It was 3 a.m. The neighborhood was awake. Everyone was staring. Everyone was whispering. But I didn't care. I hugged my daughter. I hugged her so tight I thought she would break. "It's over, honey. It's over. And Dad? He's going to be fine. I promise you." We went into the house. I closed the door. I closed the blinds. We sat on the living room sofa. Emily wouldn't stop trembling. "Mum, Mark shot Dad." "I know. It's my fault." "No, Emily, it was not your fault. None of this was your fault. It was Sharon's fault. It was Mark's fault. It was the fault of people who learned that violence is power." "But I loved him." "I know, honey. But love is not enough. Love without respect, without dignity, without peace. It is not love. It is destruction." Emily cried into my chest. She cried like I had never seen her cry. She cried out all the fear she had held inside, all the pain, all the shame. And I let her. Because sometimes crying is the only way to start healing. The following days were difficult. Frank was in the hospital for a week. The bullet had damaged nerves. He needed surgery, physical therapy. But he survived. When I could visit him, I found him sitting in bed, his arm in a sling, watching TV. "Hi," I said. "Hi," he replied, with a tired smile. I sat beside him. "Thank you for protecting us. You don't have to thank me. It was my duty." "No, it was more than a duty. It was love, a father's love." He nodded, his eyes filled with tears. "How is Emily?" "Better, little by little. She's going to therapy. She's rebuilding her life. And Mark, in pre-trial detention, waiting for trial. His lawyer says he's going to plead guilty, that he'll accept his sentence. And Sharon and her father, Sharon and Commander Stevens, are also in detention. But he is still denying everything, says he's innocent, that Emily is lying, that I manipulated her." Frank sighed. "Men like him never accept responsibility. Never." "I know. But it doesn't matter anymore, because Emily is free, and that's all that matters." Frank took my hand. "You did the right thing, Sarah. You saved our daughter." "No, we saved her together." We remained silent. A comfortable silence. A silence of 2 people who, though no longer a couple, were still a team. 6 months passed. Commander Rex Stevens was sentenced to 8 years in prison for aggravated assault, violation of a restraining order, and complicity. Sharon Stevens was sentenced to 6 years. Mark was sentenced to 5 years for attempted murder, with the possibility of a reduced sentence for cooperating with the police. Emily got divorced. The process was quick. Mark didn't object. He signed everything without a fight. And little by little, my daughter began to smile again. She started coming to my house on Sundays again. She started drinking coffee with me again. She started telling me her plans again. "I want to open that preschool, Mum. The one I always dreamed of." Then open it. Do you think I can? I know you can, because you are strong, stronger than you think. She smiled, and that smile was real. It was free. One day, while we were sitting at the kitchen table, Emily told me something I will never forget. Mum, thank you for not giving up on me. I was never going to give up, honey. You are my daughter, and a mother never abandons her child. But many mothers do. Many women are going through the same thing I went through, and no one helps them. No one listens to them. That's why you have to tell your story, Emily, so that other women know they are not alone, that they can get out, that they can heal. Do you think so? I know so. And that's what she did. Emily began giving talks at community centres, to women who had suffered violence, to women who were afraid to leave, to women who thought there was no hope. And she told them the truth, that getting out is hard, that it hurts, that it's scary, but that it's worth it. Because life after abuse is possible, peace is possible, happiness is possible. And I, her mother, was there, at every talk, at every tear, at every smile. Because that's what mothers do. We are there. We protect. We fight. Even if it costs us everything. 2 years passed since that night. 2 years in which life taught us that justice doesn't always come quickly, but it always comes. Commander Stevens served his time in a federal penitentiary. According to a lawyer friend of Frank's, the man who was once a commander, who once instilled fear with his mere presence, had become something else. In prison, no one feared him. No one respected him. The inmates knew why he was there. Violence against women. And in prison, that's a mark that follows you, that isolates you. Commander Stevens was no longer the tough man who yelled and hit. He was an old, hunched-over man who ate alone, who walked with his head bowed, whom no one wanted near. One day I received a call. It was from the prison hospital. Commander Stevens had suffered a heart attack. It wasn't severe, but not mild either. His heart was weak, very weak. The doctor told me that the commander had asked to speak with someone from his family, with his son, with his daughter-in-law. But Mark refused. He said he had nothing to say to him, that his father had died to him the day he forced him to shoot Frank. And Emily also refused, not with rage, not with hatred. She simply said, "I already forgave him, but that doesn't mean I have to see him." So Commander Stevens was left alone, in that hospital bed, without family, without visits, without anyone to hold his hand as his heart failed. He once called me crazy. He once told me I was destroying his family. Years later, I learned he was alone in that hospital. Life always collects its debts. I didn't feel joy when I found out, but I didn't feel pity either. I just felt balance, because Commander Stevens spent his last years exactly as he made so many women feel. Alone, scared, powerless. Mark was released from prison after 3 years. His sentence was reduced for good behavior and for cooperating with the prosecution. When he got out, he had nowhere to go. His house had been sold to pay lawyers. His father and sister were still in prison. And Emily had already moved on. He tried to call her, once, twice, 10 times. She never answered. Until one day Emily decided to see him. Not because she wanted to go back to him, not because she missed him, but because she needed to close that chapter of her life. They met at a coffee shop, a public, neutral place. I wanted to go with her, but Emily told me, "No, Mom, I have to do this alone." I waited outside, sitting on a bench, watching people pass by, praying silently. Half an hour later, Emily came out. Her eyes were red. but she wasn't crying. "Are you okay?" I asked. "Yes, I'm okay." What happened? He apologized. He told me he had been in therapy, that he understood all the harm he had caused me, that if he could go back in time, he would do everything differently. And what did you tell him? I told him I forgave him, but that forgiving doesn't mean forgetting or going back or giving him another chance. How did he react? He cried. He told me he understood, that he didn't expect anything from me, that he just wanted me to know that he was changing, that he was trying to be better. And did you believe him? Emily paused. I don't know, Mum. Maybe he is changing, or maybe he just learned to say the right words. But it's no longer my responsibility to know. It's no longer my problem. I hugged her. I'm proud of you, honey. Thank you, Mum, for everything. That was the last time Emily saw Mark. Months later, I found out through a friend that Mark had moved to another state, that he was working in construction, that he lived alone, that he didn't have a partner, that he didn't talk about his past. Some might say that's sad, that a man deserves a second chance, and maybe he does. But not with the woman he hurt, not with the family he destroyed. Mark lost Emily forever, and that was his greatest sentence, greater than the jail time, greater than his father's rejection. He lost the love of a good woman, and he will never get that back. Frank recovered completely. Well, almost completely. His left arm never regained the same strength. He had to leave his job as a field detective and was moved to an administrative position. At first, he was frustrated. He said he missed the street, the action, feeling useful. But with time, he found another way to be useful. He started giving talks in schools, to teenagers, about domestic violence, about how to recognize signs of abuse, about how to protect the women in their families. And the teenagers listened to him. Because Frank didn't speak like a police officer. He spoke like a father, like a man who had seen pain up close, who had bled to protect his daughter. One day after one of his talks, a 17-year-old boy approached him. Mr. Frank, my dad hits my mum, and I don't know what to do. Frank knelt down in front of him, looked him in the eyes. You do know what to do. You have to protect her. You have to tell her she is not alone. And you have to seek help. You don't have to fight him. You just have to break the silence. Talk to a teacher, to an uncle, to the police. Silence is what kills. Voice is what saves. The boy cried, and Frank hugged him. That night, Frank told me what had happened, and as he spoke, I saw tears in his eyes. Sarah, if I had talked to Emily sooner, if I had asked her more, if I had insisted. Don't blame yourself, Frank. You did everything you could. And when Emily needed you, you were there. That's what matters. He nodded. But there are so many Emilys out there, so many women suffering, and no one is doing anything. That's why you speak. That's why Emily speaks. So those women know there is a way out. Frank smiled. You're right. As for me, my life changed too. After everything that happened, I couldn't continue with my routine as if nothing had happened. I couldn't keep going to work, reviewing numbers, living as if I hadn't seen what I saw. I resigned from my job at the textile company after 30 years. My colleagues didn't understand. My boss didn't either. But I understood. I understood that life is short, that time is precious, and that there are things more important than a paycheck. I used my savings to open something I had always dreamed of, a shelter for women victims of violence. It wasn't big, just a small house on the outskirts of the city, with 3 rooms, a kitchen, a living room. But it was a safe place, a place where women like Emily could arrive, without money, without papers, without questions, just with their pain and with their hope. Emily helped me, Frank too. We got donations, volunteers, lawyers who worked pro bono, psychologists who gave free therapy, and little by little, that small place filled with life, with women who arrived broken and left whole, with children who arrived scared and left playing, with stories that arrived in silence and left in a loud voice. One day, a woman in her 60s arrived at the shelter. She was carrying an old suitcase, her eyes swollen, her hands trembling. "Can I stay?" she asked, her voice shaking. "Of course you can. Come in. This is your home now," she cried. She hugged her children. "Thank you. Thank you for not closing the door on me. We never close the door here. Never." That night, as I prepared dinner for all the women in the shelter, I thought about Sharon, about Mark, about all the people who use their power to destroy, and I thought about justice. Not the justice of the courts, not the justice of the laws, but the justice of karma, the justice of life. Sharon ended up alone. Mark ended up empty. And we ended up together. Strong, rebuilt. That is the greatest justice, the one no one can take away from you. Today, as I write these words, 5 years have passed since that night. 5 years since the gunshot, since the screaming, since the fear. 5 years in which I learned that pain can be transformed into wisdom, that wounds can become scars that tell stories, and that a mother's love is the most powerful force in the universe. Emily is now 31. She opened her preschool. It's called Seeds of Hope. It's small but beautiful, full of colors, laughter, children running and playing. She is happy, complete, free. She met someone, a good man, a teacher like her, someone who treats her with respect, with tenderness, with true love. The first time she introduced him to me, I was nervous. I was afraid of being wrong again, of trusting someone who didn't deserve it. But when I saw him with Emily, when I saw how he looked at her, how he listened to her, how he made her laugh, I knew this time was different. "Mum, I want you to meet Andrew." Andrew shook my hand, looked me in the eyes. "It's an honor to meet you, Ms. Sarah. Emily has told me a lot about you, about everything you did for her. I just did what any mother would do. No, not any mother. You saved her. And for that, I will always respect you. And I will always take care of Emily as you did." My eyes filled with tears. "I only ask one thing of you, Andrew. Love her. Don't control her. Love her truly. I promise you." And he has kept his promise. Last year, Emily and Andrew got married. It was a small, intimate wedding in a garden full of white flowers. Frank walked her down the aisle. I cried. I cried with happiness, with relief, with gratitude. Because this time, my daughter chose well. This time, my daughter found the love she deserved. Frank continues to give talks. He continues to save lives with his words. He remarried too, to a good, calm woman who loves and cares for him. He and I are still friends. We are still a team, because even though our marriage didn't work out, our family did. And that's what matters. The shelter grew. It's no longer just a small house. Now we have 2 houses, 12 rooms, capacity for 20 women and their children. Every month, new stories arrive, new tears, new hopes. And every month, I see women who arrive broken and leave whole. Women who arrive with fear and leave with courage. A few days ago, a woman in her 60s arrived at the shelter. She was carrying an old suitcase, her eyes swollen, her hands trembling. "Can I stay?" she asked. "Of course you can. Come in." She walked in. She sat in the living room, and she started talking. "I was married for 40 years, 40 years enduring, 40 years keeping silent. I thought it was too late, that at my age there was no point in leaving. But today, my granddaughter told me something that changed my life. She said, 'Grandma, it's never too late to be happy.' She cried, and I cried with her. 'Your granddaughter is right,' I told her. 'It's never too late. As long as we have breath, we can start over.' She smiled, a tired smile, but real. 'Thank you. Thank you for opening this door for me. This door is always open. For you. For all of you. Sometimes, when I'm alone, I think about everything that happened. About Sharon. About Mark. About that night of blood and screaming. And I wonder if I did the right thing. If I could have done things differently. If I could have spared Emily so much pain. But then I see her. I see my daughter smiling. I see my daughter free. I see my daughter alive. And I understand that, yes, I did the right thing. Because a mother cannot prevent her children from suffering. But she can be there when they suffer. She can hold them. She can fight for them. She can remind them that they are not alone. And that is what I did. That is what I will always do. There is something I have learned in these years, something I want to share with all the women who are listening to this story. If you are in a relationship where you are yelled at, where you are controlled, where you are made to feel small, leave. Please, leave. Don't wait until it's too late. Don't wait until the blows are harder. Don't wait until your light goes out completely. Because you are worth more, much more. No matter how old you are, no matter how long you have been there, no matter how many times you have been told that you can't. Yes, you can, and you are not alone. There are women like me, like Emily, like all the women who have passed through the shelter, women who will believe you, who will support you, who will accompany you. You just have to take the first step, the hardest one, the most important one, the step toward the door. A few months ago, I received a letter. It had no return address, just my name handwritten on the envelope. I opened it. It was from Mark. It said, "Ms. Sarah, I know I have no right to ask you for anything. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness, or Emily's, or anyone's. But I want you to know that every day I think about what I did. Every day I carry that weight. And every day I try to be better. Not to get Emily back. I understand that. I lost her forever. And that is fair. But so that, if I ever have children, I don't repeat my father's mistakes. So that the cycle ends with me. Thank you for saving Emily. Thank you for doing what I didn't have the courage to do. With respect, Mark." I read the letter several times. I felt no anger. I felt no forgiveness. I only felt nothing. Because Mark is no longer part of our lives. It no longer matters what he feels, what he thinks, what he does. The only thing that matters is that Emily is well, that she is alive, that she is happy. I put the letter in a drawer, and I didn't read it again. Today, as the sun sets behind the Texas plains, I sit on my porch. I have a mug of coffee in my hands, the same mug Emily used when she was a little girl. I think about the whole journey, about everything we lost, about everything we gained. And I understand that life is not perfect, that it doesn't always have happy endings, that sometimes justice is slow. Sometimes the pain lasts for years. Sometimes the scars never fade. But I also understand that life goes on, that love goes on, that hope goes on, and that as long as there are women willing to fight, to break the silence, to open doors, there will be a future. There will be freedom. There will be peace. If my story helps even one woman open her eyes, it will have been worth it. If my story helps even one mother act, it will have been worth it. If my story helps even one person understand that true love does not hurt, it will have been worth it. Because stories are not told just to remember the past. They are told to change the future. And this is my gift to you, to all of you, to all the women who need to hear that yes, you can, that yes, there is a way out, that yes, there is life after pain. Thank you for listening to me until the end. Thank you for being here. Thank you for believing me. And if you are going through something similar, if you know someone who is suffering, please act. Don't wait. Don't hesitate. Don't be afraid. Because silence kills, but voice saves. And together, we can save many more. God bless you. And until next time.